Captain Jack Turner led his team through the dense undergrowth of Thalassa 4, the planet's thick green canopy casting mottled shadows on the forest floor. The sound of foreign wildlife echoed through the trees, a constant reminder of the uncharted territory they navigated. "Keep your eyes peeled," Jack murmured into his comms, adjusting the settings on his handheld scanner. "We don't know what kind of fauna we're dealing with here." Lieutenant Haruto Sato, his second-in-command, nodded, scanning their surroundings. "The bio readings are off the charts, Captain. Every step could be something new for the science logs." Private Miles Donovan trudged along beside them, his heavy boots sinking slightly into the moist soil. "I hope by something new it doesn't include the kind that eats you for lunch," he joked, only half kidding. The team chuckled, the sound mingling with the rustling leaves. Their laughter was abruptly cut short by a soft, whimpering sound that pierced the natural chorus of the forest. "Did you hear that?" asked Sergeant Derek Briggs, stopping in his tracks and tilting his head to listen. "Yeah, I heard it too," Jack replied, signaling for the team to advance towards the sound. They moved cautiously, the source of the noise drawing them deeper into the forest. As they approached a small clearing, Haruto pointed towards a bush. "There, Captain." What they found was a small creature, glowing faintly with a bioluminescent sheen, caught in a tangle of thorny vines. It resembled a terrestrial puppy, but its eyes were large and shimmering, reflecting the team's figures like mirrors. "Poor thing looks terrified," Derek noted, kneeling down to assess the situation without touching the creature. Jack crouched beside him, his voice soothing. "Hey there, little guy. We're not going to hurt you." He turned to Miles. "Miles, do we have anything in the med kit for sedation? If we're going to free him, we need him calm." Miles quickly rummaged through his pack, pulling out a small sedative vial. "This should work, but it's dosed for humans. I'll need to adjust it." As Miles prepared the sedative, Haruto carefully inspected the vines. "These are barbed, similar to Earth's bramble bushes. I can cut him out, but I'll need steady hands to hold these back." "Let me," Derek offered, his larger frame and strong hands well suited for the task. Together, they worked with precision, Derek holding back the vines as Haruto delicately snipped them away with cutters. The creature whimpered softly, its glow pulsing in slow, soothing waves as if trying to calm itself. Jack gently stroked the creature's head, whispering reassurances. Once freed, the alien puppy didn't run. Instead, it limped into Jack's lap, its small body trembling. "Looks like we've got a new friend," Jack said, a smile breaking across his face despite the situation. "Let's get him back to the ship. We'll need to treat that leg and figure out what we're dealing with here." Miles administered a mild sedative to the creature, now named Spark for the soft glow it emitted. "There, that should make the journey back less stressful for him." With Spark safely in Jack's arms, the team made their way back to their landing craft. The decision to help the creature was unanimous, driven by a shared compassion that overruled protocol in the moment. "Captain, you realize this could complicate our mission," Haruto finally said, his tone mixed with concern and admiration for Jack's decision. Jack nodded, looking down at the glowing creature in his arms. "I know, Haruto, but leaving him there wasn't an option. We'll have to deal with the consequences together." As they emerged from the foliage and into the clearing where their ship awaited, the weight of their decisions settled on each of them, but so did a shared sense of purpose. Spark's rescue might have been unplanned, but it was a poignant reminder of why they explored the stars. Not just to discover, but to understand and, where necessary, to protect. Back aboard the spacecraft, Captain Jack Turner carried Spark into the medical bay, setting the small, glowing creature gently on an examination table. The team gathered around, curiosity mixed with concern on their faces. Lieutenant Haruto Sato was the first to speak as he peered closely at the creature. "I've never seen anything like it. The way it glows, it must have some sort of bioluminescent properties, possibly for mating or defense." Private Miles Donovan, clipboard in hand, nodded as he took notes. "Or maybe it's just their natural state. Bioluminescence isn't unheard of in deep-sea creatures back on Earth. Could be a similar adaptation here." Jack watched Spark, who seemed to have calmed down considerably. The creature's luminescence pulsed softly, in rhythm with its breathing. "We need to decide what we're doing with him. Protocol says we should report this to command immediately, but that could mean they'd take him away for testing." Sergeant Derek Briggs leaned against a cabinet, arms crossed. "We saved him. Doesn't that give us some sort of responsibility for his well-being?" Haruto rubbed the back of his neck, considering the implications. "We could delay the report, give us time to study him a bit more. Understand what we're dealing with before we just hand him over." Miles looked up from his notes, concern etched on his face. But what if they find out we've delayed? That could mean trouble for all of us. Jack sighed, his gaze settling on Spark, who was now quietly watching them. I say we take care of him first. We can compile a preliminary report without mentioning Spark. Focus on the flora and other fauna we've encountered. Buy ourselves some time. The team nodded in agreement, each knowing the risks involved. Haruto turned to the communications console to begin crafting their official update to command, carefully omitting any mention of Spark. Meanwhile, Jack and Miles focused on assessing Spark's health. They gently examined the creature's injured leg, applying a mild antiseptic to the wounds. Seems like he's healing quickly. Might be something in their physiology, Miles observed, fascinated. Derek watched them work, a slight frown on his face. We're really doing this, huh? Keeping an alien life form secret from our own people? Jack met his gaze steadily. We're not keeping him a secret forever. Just until we know that revealing him won't put him at risk. He's not a specimen, Derek. He's a living being that was in distress. We did the right thing, and now we need to make sure it stays the right thing. As Haruto sent off their sanitized mission report, he glanced back at Spark, who seemed almost content now, nestled in a makeshift bed they had prepared. If nothing else, we're going to need more supplies if we're going to keep him healthy and hidden. I'll add it to the next resupply request, under miscellaneous scientific needs. The team settled into a routine over the next few hours, rotating watch over Spark while continuing their other duties aboard the ship. Despite the potential complications, there was a unanimous sense of camaraderie and purpose. They had taken a risk, but for a good cause. As the lights dimmed for the ship's night cycle, Jack stayed behind in the medical bay, watching Spark sleep. The creature's gentle breathing and the soft glow of its fur offered a quiet reassurance. They were charting unknown territory, but they weren't just explorers of planets. They were guardians of life, wherever they found it. Captain Jack Turner was reviewing the latest data from Thalassa 4's surface in the command center when Lieutenant Haruto Sato abruptly turned from the navigation console, his face etched with concern. Captain, we've got an unknown contact closing in fast on our position, Haruto announced, his fingers flying over the controls as he pulled up the sensor readings. Jack straightened up, moving quickly to join Haruto at the console. Show me what you've got. The screen displayed a blip moving at a high velocity toward their spacecraft. Its trajectory was direct, with a determination that suggested it wasn't just a random encounter. Private Miles Donovan leaned over the console next to Derek Briggs, who was already analyzing the data. Could it be one of the local enforcement patrols? Maybe they detected our landing. Jack frowned, watching the rapidly approaching object. Possible, but we left no trace of our landing as per protocol. This feels targeted. Derek punched a few commands into his terminal, trying to hail the approaching ship. No response to our comms. Whatever or whoever they are, they're not interested in talking. Options? Jack asked, glancing at each of his crew members for their input. Haruto responded first. We could try to outrun them, but without knowing their capabilities, that might escalate things. We should prepare for a defensive stance while continuing to attempt communication. Jack nodded decisively. Do it. Get us into a defensive pattern, Haruto. Miles, keep trying to establish contact. Derek, I want you on weapons, just in case. As Haruto skillfully maneuvered the ship into a more defensible position, the unknown ship continued its silent pursuit. The tension in the command center was palpable, each team member ready for what might come next. Suddenly, the communication panel crackled to life. A voice, cold and metallic, echoed through the command center. Human vessel, you are carrying property that belongs to the Thalassan Authority. Surrender the creature immediately and prepare to be boarded. Jack's grip tightened on the back of Haruto's chair. This is Captain Jack Turner of the United Earth vessel Strider. We have no intention of surrendering. We're prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. The alien voice responded after a pause. Your resistance is unwise. We will retrieve the luminary with or without your cooperation. Jack exchanged a quick glance with his crew, each of them nodding their understanding and readiness. We don't recognize your claim, Jack countered firmly. Stand down and cease your approach. As the alien vessel refused to relent, sparking a tense standoff, Spark, the alien puppy, seemed to sense the escalating danger. Despite his usual playful demeanor, he now emitted a steady, intense glow, almost as if reacting to the stress aboard the ship. Miles noticed the change and spoke up. Captain, look at Spark. I think he's trying to tell us something. All eyes turned to the small creature who, despite his size, suddenly seemed like a beacon of power in the dimly lit room. His glowing intensified, pulsating in a pattern that seemed almost communicative. Derek watched the display, an idea forming. What if he can help? His species might have abilities we haven't seen yet. Maybe he can affect their ship. Jack considered this, his resolve hardening. Keep an eye on Spark. Let's not escalate until we have no other choice, but be ready. We'll protect Spark at all costs. With the crew prepared, and Spark seemingly an active participant in the unfolding drama, they braced themselves. Whatever the intentions of their pursuer, the crew of the Strider was united. They would stand their ground, for each other and for Spark. The alien vessel held its position just outside effective weapon range, a silent sentinel against the backdrop of distant stars. The tension on the bridge of the Strider was palpable as Captain Jack Turner and his crew prepared for what might come next. Lieutenant Haruto Sato monitored the alien ship's movements, his hands steady on the controls. No advancement, Captain, but no withdrawal either. They're waiting for something. Private Miles Donovan stood beside Sergeant Derek Briggs at the communication panel, continuously attempting to hail the alien craft. Still no response, Derek. It's like they're just ignoring us now. Derek's jaw was set firm, his eyes not leaving his weapon control screen. Let's hope they don't decide to stop ignoring us. We're sitting ducks if this goes south. Jack rubbed his chin thoughtfully, watching the alien vessel through the viewport. Keep trying to establish communication, Miles. Derek, stand by on weapons, but hold fire unless I give the word. We won't start a conflict, but we'll be ready to finish it if necessary. As the stalemate continued, Spark, the alien puppy, became increasingly agitated. His bioluminescent glow flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows around the medical bay where he was kept. Haruto glanced back at the captain. Should we consider using Spark somehow? His reaction might mean he's sensitive to what's happening, or even to who's out there. Jack considered this for a moment before nodding slowly. Miles, bring Spark here to the bridge. Maybe his reactions can give us some insight into our visitors. Miles hurried to fetch Spark, returning moments later with the glowing creature in his arms. As soon as Spark entered the bridge, his light intensified, pulsating in a rhythm that almost felt like a heartbeat. Seems like he knows they're out there, Derek observed, watching Spark carefully. Jack approached Spark, trying to soothe him. Easy there, buddy. We're not going to let anything happen to you. Suddenly, the communication channel crackled to life, and a cold, alien voice filled the bridge. This is your final warning. Hand over the luminary, or we will retrieve him by force. Jack straightened, his expression steely as he responded. This is Captain Jack Turner of the Strider. We have claimed sanctuary for Spark under United Earth Space Command's Protection of Sentient Lifeforms Act. He is under our protection, and we are prepared to defend that claim. There was a brief silence. Then the alien voice returned, this time with a hint of curiosity. You claim sanctuary for a non-human. This is highly irregular and intriguing. Why protect this creature? Jack glanced at Spark, whose glow had settled into a steady light, and then back to the communication panel. Spark is a sentient being with the right to life and safety. We will not hand him over to anyone who intends him harm or exploitation. The alien ship's response was non-committal. We will consider your claim. Stand by for our decision. As the channel went silent again, Jack turned to his crew, his voice low but firm. Stay sharp, everyone. This isn't over yet, but whatever happens, we've made our stance clear. We're here to protect Spark, no matter what comes. Haruto nodded, resuming his watch on the alien ship. Derek kept his hand near the weapons console, ready to act on a moment's notice. Miles gently set Spark down, who stayed close to Jack's side, his glow now a gentle, reassuring light in the dimness of the bridge. The standoff continued, with each passing moment stretching long and taut. But with Spark's presence uniting them, the crew of the Strider was ready to face whatever challenges came next. The standoff on the bridge had reached a critical moment. The alien vessel maintained its position just outside the Strider's weapons range, its intentions unclear, but its threat palpable. Inside the Strider, Captain Jack Turner faced his crew, a determined look in his eye. Keep communications open, Jack directed Private Miles Donovan, who nodded and turned back to his console. Any change in their stance, I want to know immediately. Spark, the bioluminescent alien puppy, seemed to sense the high stakes, his glow fluctuating with the tension in the air. As the crew watched the alien ship, Spark suddenly began to emit a series of rapid pulses, a light show that was erratic and seemingly reactive. Lieutenant Haruto Sato watched the display with a mixture of awe and curiosity. Do you think he's trying to communicate with them, or is he just scared? Jack considered this, his gaze softening as he looked at Spark. It might be both. Spark, can you understand us? Are you trying to tell us something about those ships? Unexpectedly, the alien ship's communication channel crackled to life again. The voice that emerged was less harsh, more contemplative. Human vessel, we have observed your interaction with the luminary. It appears there is more to your actions than we initially perceived. Jack straightened, stepping closer to the console. We're protecting Spark because he's a sentient being. He deserves to make choices about his own life, free from threats or coercion. The voice paused before responding. Your concepts of freedom and rights are unfamiliar to us. The Luminara, your Spark, were once revered on our world for their abilities to enhance and rejuvenate life. But they were exploited, hunted for these gifts. We believed them extinct. Sergeant Derek Briggs interjected. So you were after him because you thought he was the last of his kind? Yes, the alien admitted. Our ecosystem suffers without their kind. We sought the luminary to restore balance, not to harm him. Jack felt a mix of relief and skepticism. If what you say is true, we may have common ground. We also want to see Spark thrive and his abilities used for good, but not at his expense. The discussion was suddenly interrupted by Spark's intensified glowing, this time directing a focused beam of light toward a panel on the wall of the ship that displayed a holographic star map. The map zoomed automatically onto a specific region, highlighting a system that pulsed in sync with Spark's light. Haruto studied the map, realization dawning. He's showing us where he's from. This could be the key to understanding how to help his species properly. Jack nodded, his decision clear. We will negotiate with the alien ship. We propose a joint mission to Spark's home system. We explore his origins together, ensuring his safety and the restoration of his species under mutual agreements. Turning back to the communication panel, Jack conveyed the proposal. We offer a partnership. Together we can learn from Spark and potentially help many others like him. The alien's reply came after a long pause. This proposal is acceptable. Prepare for a diplomatic envoy to discuss terms. As the channel went silent, the crew breathed a collective sigh of relief. Jack looked around at his team, proud of their steadfastness. Well done, everyone. This is just the beginning, but today, you've all shown what it means to stand up for what's right. Spark's light settled into a calm, steady glow, as if he too sensed the shift toward a hopeful future. The crew gathered around their little friend, their faces lit by his gentle luminescence, ready to face whatever came next together. The Strider's journey towards Spark's home system was marked by an uneasy alliance with the alien vessel. The crew worked meticulously, preparing for the diplomatic envoy and the potential challenges of a joint mission. Captain Jack Turner remained vigilant, aware that the delicate truce could unravel at any moment. In the ship's common area, Lieutenant Haruto Sato reviewed the navigation plans with Private Miles Donovan. We need to make sure we're not completely reliant on their guidance systems. Keep our own navigation ready to take over instantly if things go sideways, Haruto instructed. Miles nodded in agreement, his eyes flicking to the glowing form of Spark playing quietly nearby. I'll double-check all our backups. Meanwhile, Sergeant Derek Briggs was in the communication room, supposedly sending status updates to Earth Command. However, his actions were veering dangerously off protocol. Derek had secretly opened a channel to an unknown recipient, speaking in hushed tones. Yes, I have the creature. No, they don't suspect anything. It's all set. Once we get to the system, I'll hand him over to you. Unbeknownst to Derek, his transmission was intercepted by Haruto, who had been conducting routine checks on the ship's communication systems. Shocked by the discovery, Haruto immediately went to find Captain Jack. Jack was in his quarters, strategizing their approach to the upcoming negotiations. Haruto entered without knocking, urgency written all over his face. Captain, you need to see this. He handed over the tablet displaying Derek's treacherous communications. Jack's expression turned grave as he read. I can't believe he'd do this. After everything we've been through. Without wasting a moment, Jack and Haruto confronted Derek in the communication room. What is the meaning of this, Sergeant? Jack's voice was low, a controlled fury simmering beneath the surface. Derek, caught off guard and realizing there was no way out, finally dropped his facade. Look, Captain, You don't understand. They offered me a life I could never have here. Riches beyond belief, just for handing over the creature. We don't owe him anything. Jack shook his head, disappointment and anger in his eyes. You're wrong, Derek. We owe him everything. His safety, his freedom, his future. He's not a bargaining chip. Haruto stepped forward, his stance firm. You're confined to quarters until we sort this out. Consider yourself relieved of duty. As Derek was escorted away, Miles, who had overheard the confrontation, approached Jack with Spark in his arms. The little creature seemed to sense the tension, his glow dim and flickering. Jack stroked Spark gently, reassuring him with a calm voice. It's okay, buddy. You're safe with us. We're not going to let anyone hurt you. The betrayal had shaken the crew, but it also reinforced their resolve to protect Spark and uphold their principles. As they continued their journey, Jack addressed the entire crew, reaffirming their mission and the values they stood for. We're not just a crew, we're guardians. What we do here, how we handle this, defines not just our future, but also the future of beings like Spark. Let's show the universe what humanity is really about. With renewed determination, the crew of the Strider moved forward, each member committed to their cause more than ever. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but they were united, ready to face whatever challenges awaited in Spark's home system. As the Strider approached Spark's home system, tension mounted among the crew. The betrayal by Sergeant Derek Briggs had left a sour taste, but Captain Jack Turner was focused on the mission ahead. The alliance with the alien vessel, still an uneasy arrangement, was their only chance to ensure Spark's safety and possibly restore his species. Lieutenant Haruto Sato and Private Miles Donovan were busy at their stations, making final preparations for entering the system. All systems are green, Captain. We're ready to navigate through the asteroid field surrounding the planet, Haruto reported. Good. Keep your eyes peeled for any anomalies, Jack instructed, his gaze fixed on the forward screen displaying the star-studded blackness of space. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the bridge. Incoming! Multiple unidentified objects closing fast, Miles shouted, his fingers flying over the sensor controls. Battle stations, Jack commanded. The crew sprang into action, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Derek, despite being confined to quarters, felt the ship's heightened alert and knew something was amiss. On the bridge, Haruto maneuvered the Strider skillfully, dodging the incoming projectiles that were now identifiable as small, unmanned drones. They're not trying to destroy us, Captain. Looks like they're trying to disable and board. Jack nodded, understanding the enemy's strategy. Derek might have sold us out to more than one party, or his buyers aren't taking any chances. Either way, we need to protect Spark. As the ship weaved through the barrage, Spark's glow intensified, pulsing in sync with the ship's evasive maneuvers. The little creature seemed attuned to the crew's determination. Haruto, take us closer to the asteroid field. Use it to our advantage, Jack directed, his mind racing with tactics. Haruto complied, steering the Strider into the dense cluster of space rocks. The pursuing drones struggled to navigate the hazardous terrain, some colliding with asteroids and being destroyed. Meanwhile, on the lower deck, Derek, hearing the chaos above, wrestled with his conscience. The threat to the ship, to Spark, weighed heavily on him. In a moment of redemption, he accessed the internal communication system. Captain, this is Derek. I can help. I know how these attackers operate. Jack, surprised by Derek's voice but focused on the situation, responded tersely. We're listening, Derek. Using his knowledge, Derek guided Haruto and Miles through disabling the drone's communication link. They're controlled by a relay on the main ship. If you can jam it, the drones will go offline. With Derek's instructions, Miles quickly set up a jamming signal. Within moments, the remaining drones veered off course, rendered harmless without their command signal. Good work, team, Jack said, allowing himself a brief moment of relief. Derek, stay on the line and assist as you can. As the immediate threat subsided, the crew took stock. The Strider had sustained minor damages, but nothing critical. Spark, throughout the ordeal, had remained by Jack's side, his glowing presence a beacon of calm. Let's keep moving. We're almost there, and they know it, Jack stated, his eyes on the star map leading them to Spark's home planet. The crew's resolve hardened, galvanized by the battle and their narrow escape. Spark's home was within reach, and with it, the hope of securing a future for his kind. The path forward was clear, but Jack knew the real challenges might still lie ahead. As they resumed their course, each crew member felt the weight of their mission, united by a common purpose to protect life wherever it was found. The Strider finally entered the orbit of Spark's home planet, a vibrant world teeming with life, yet showing signs of ecological imbalance. The lush green forests were interspersed with patches of barren land, a silent testament to the decline mentioned by the alien allies. Captain Jack Turner stood in the bridge, watching the planet rotate slowly below them. "Prepare for landing. We need to make sure our alliance holds and that the sanctuary they've promised for Spark is up to our standards." Lieutenant Haruto Sato adjusted the ship's descent trajectory while Private Miles Donovan coordinated with the alien vessel for landing clearance. "They're guiding us to the designated sanctuary site, Captain. Seems like they're keeping their word so far." Spark, sensing the proximity to his home, was visibly excited, his glow brighter and more consistent than ever. His reactions were not lost on the crew, who had grown to understand his expressions over their journey. As the Strider touched down gently on the surface, the alien delegation was already there to greet them. The beings were tall and slender, with translucent skin that shimmered under the planet's sun, reflecting the planet's primary colors. Captain Jack led his team out of the Strider, Spark trotting closely beside him, his tail wagging a gentle light show. The alien leader stepped forward, extending a hand in peace. "Welcome, Earth humans. We are grateful for your care of the luminary and your willingness to help us restore what we've lost." Jack shook the offered hand, his gaze steady. "We're here to ensure Spark can live safely and contribute to your planet's healing on his terms." The aliens nodded, understanding the condition. They led Jack and his crew through a vast preserve, a sanctuary designed specifically for Spark and potentially others of his kind. The area was equipped with a variety of flora from Spark's ecosystem, and facilities were in place to study and propagate his species under ethical conditions. Derek Briggs, now a part of the delegation under close watch, observed the arrangements. His betrayal, although not forgotten, was overshadowed by the greater mission. Seeing the sanctuary, he felt a genuine relief, his earlier decisions weighing less heavily on him. Haruto was busy discussing technical details with an alien scientist, ensuring that the technology used would not harm the natural environment. "We'll need to monitor the energy outputs closely," he noted, pointing to a solar array. "It should mimic the natural rhythms of the planet." Miles was documenting everything, his camera clicking continuously. "This will make one hell of a report back home," he commented with a smile, capturing images of Spark exploring his new surroundings. As the tour concluded, the alien leader addressed Jack again. "With your help, we hope to see a rebirth of the Luminara species and a restoration of our world's balance. Spark can live here, among his own kind, when we find or grow them. He is always free to leave if he chooses." Jack watched Spark play in a field of native flowers, his body language one of joy and contentment. "I think he might choose to stay, but it'll always be his choice." The sun set over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the sanctuary. The crew of the Strider stood together, watching Spark begin his new life. They had not only protected an innocent life, but had potentially changed the course of an entire world. "Time to head back, team," Jack finally said, his voice tinged with pride and a hint of sadness at the farewell. "We've done good here." As the Strider lifted off from the planet, leaving Spark in his rightful home, the crew felt a collective sense of accomplishment. They had faced challenges, moral dilemmas, and danger, yet emerged as not just explorers, but as protectors and partners in the vast, mysterious universe.